I'm excited to present to you today the company overview of Acumatica and the key reasons why it fits well for project-driven businesses. So here are the essentials that we've gathered from our meetings with different customers and businesses around the United States. You might have some input on these, and we can talk about that. But here's the important things that we've seen. One thing I hear from customers is that we got to move to the cloud. When you drill down on that, the real business reasons for that is that they want to simplify their ERP implementations. They've just gotten very complex over the years with lots of integrations, hardware support, IT involvement, programmers. All those costs are driving up the cost to support that internal system. Likewise, it's hard for them to stay current. When they want to do an upgrade to get the new features that the ERP system can deliver, but either their hardware costs or their programming costs, integration costs are making it too expensive for them to do those upgrades and get the benefit and business process improvements of the new features and new technology that's coming out. A common thing I hear is we want to unify CRM, project management, and finance into one system. We see a lot of customers that have Microsoft CRM, Salesforce, Sugar, Act. There's just dozens of CRM systems out there. But the power of a CRM system is to have it closely integrated with your ERP system so that when you do a quote, it becomes an order. When you do a quote, it becomes a project. You add a new customer, you add a new contact, it shows up in the financial system. And if you don't have that, you're missing out on some of the business value. And on top of that, a lot of companies are spending tremendous amounts of money, and I've seen hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on implementing and integrating a disconnected CRM system from one publisher with their ERP system. The other thing we hear constantly is the need to have an Excel-based financial and reporting system. Not to say that a system like Acumatica doesn't have a strong financial report writer, doesn't have a strong report writer built into it that has great industry reports like the WIP report and the daily job status report that construction and project management companies need. But the project managers, the line managers, your average, accounting person, an AP clerk or a collections person, they're going to have a tough time even with a pretty easy to use report writer if they're not in it all the time. What they need to be able to do is consume the information in something like Excel that they work with all the time. So that's why Acumatica is just so tightly integrated with a financial report writer that is Excel based on top of the standard built-in financial report writers that come with the system. And we always want to eliminate, when possible, the proliferation of customized line of business systems, or you'll sometimes hear best of breed systems. We've got to have this specialty project management system. We've got to have this specialty project management system. We've got to have a CRM system that our salespeople are most comfortable with. But they trade off with those best in breed. You lose the integration and really make the system more complex for the upgrades and the things we talked about before. So we're trying to get to a one publisher system as much as possible. And all that improves reliability, flexibility, stability of your system, can generally be called, makes your system more adaptable and flexible and future-proof so that you don't outgrow it. And what Acumatica calls the business task that you heard here is a digital transformation. We're taking you from the old legacy systems to a modern digital business, that's web-based and has all the benefits of the newer technology. So that's basically what we're talking about, is digital transformation. And Acumatica delivers those with strong connections to all the industry applications out there. Most companies have an estimating system. Well, Acumatica can integrate with most of those. And those integrations are rapid, easy to do. If they're not standard, if they're not already built in, we can do a connection to them, any of the modern-based systems. And if they aren't modern-based, we can dump the stuff out into Excel and create an import that imports it into Acumatica. Remote collaboration is just phenomenal with these new tools. Email alerts, dashboards. Of course, everybody can be in the system using a cell phone or any web-based type device. It could be a Macintosh, an Apple. We'll talk more about that. And Acumatica calls that business resilience and future-proofing, which is hard to say, your system. Here's a couple of quotes from customers that were using legacy systems and moved to Acumatica just before the COVID virus hit and the shutdown that basically is self-imposed on us. And I won't read them all, but this Palmer Foods in blue is pretty relevant. I mean, they were in Tennessee, and right at when, if you remember, they had a bunch of tornadoes go through there, and they just wiped out a lot of power and telephone systems. But since they were on Acumatica, their people could work at home, they could go to wherever they could get internet access and still get into the system and get their job done. Likewise, with the COVID shutdown, then that pushed everybody out remote. And that's why Acumatica considers itself more future-proof and more bulletproof. And not to take just my word for it, I mean, Acumatica is getting all kinds of industry praise. Just one of many out there is this Nucleus Research Report that talks about the ease of use. And you hear that all the time from all the systems. They all say, oh, we're most easy to use. But Acumatica is actually being rated #1 by a very credible source, Nucleus Research. And that ease of use really translates into, for companies that have been using, the same system now for 10 or 20 years in many cases, all your users are used to how your system works. It's become part of your business process. Everybody knows it. Everybody talks that language. So you need something that's easy to use to facilitate the switch and not get a bunch of resistance from all your users. So Acumatica is very Amazon-like, web-based, very friendly with built-in help and search features that are very powerful that Mike Coleman will show you here in a minute in the live system. So, why should a business invest in Acumatica? Well, one is the superior technology. It's all new .NET, Microsoft SQL, which is very important. That's a very business-friendly, mid-market database that really kind of takes care of itself, as opposed to some of the other databases like Oracle, which requires a DBA. So Microsoft SQL is where you want to be. That's the most people know it, are familiar with it. All these third parties and other systems that you might want to integrate with, chances are they're going to be using Microsoft SQL. So that database is very important. .NET is the programming environment that comes with the system. So if you have programmers or somebody in-house that is familiar with .NET, they can actually do programming changes to the system. Not that that's required. There's a lot of no-code customization and configuration ability built in the system that takes care of most people. But if you got to get down in the weeds, Acumatica will let you do it. And then broad-based functionality with CRM built in, financials, project accounting, and then industry suites like construction and field service that we're going to kind of, construction in particular, that we're going to focus on today. And then finally, we'll talk about the ethical business practices. The companies that know Acunet, we've worked with Solomon or Dynamics SL for almost 30 years. And when I first started working with Solomon, it was a very ethical company. I mean, they just did whatever was right for the customer every time. But frankly, when Microsoft bought them, it was a big corporate company that's worried about their stock prices, and all their decisions didn't always break in the customer's favor. You could tell they were in it to make as much money as possible. So I see with Acumatica that very customer-friendly environment, a lot of loyalty with the partners. They treat us as well as they treat the customers, and that's very important when you're talking about a long-term relationship. We hope that this should last another 10, 20, 30 years. With the web-based technology that comes with Acumatica, you get access from any device anywhere. Most prevalent is going to be a PC, but you can use any browser to get to it. Mozilla, Chrome, Internet Explorer, or Edge now. Your cell phones is increasingly important, especially with remote workers, so that they can do time cards and expense reports. They can get alerts. They can get directions to the next client visit. All those things on the cell phone. What is really neat, any dashboard that you have in Acumatica can be pushed down to a cell phone. And those dashboards are specific. So, if it's a field service person, then it's their 3 calls they got to make today, and maybe a new case that came up or a new call they've got to make that they want to insert between the other calls they already had scheduled. It's an emergency. Those type of things can all be communicated to the cell phone. Works from a Macintosh, works from a Linux device. A lot of our customers, since bandwidth isn't important anymore, you don't need a big PC, they're going with a very inexpensive device like a Chrome tablet, which you can get for under 150 bucks, and give a remote user, it's a 9-inch, 10-inch screen that comes with it, but that is a full screen. I mean, you can see everything on there in a full screen, as opposed to a cell phone that's going to obviously have a little different format. It's going to be formatted smaller and more tabular for the cell phone device. And Acumatica is already working with things like Alexa and smartwatches to do alerts and emails from the system pop up right on your smartwatch. So they're really on top of the new technology, and that means longevity for your system and protecting the investment that you've made in it. Acumatica is typically delivered. I mean, 96% of our customers now are using the SaaS or cloud version of Acumatica, and that's on Amazon's data center network, which I think clearly is the most powerful, largest, biggest, most reliable hosting service in the world. And there are just tens of thousands of people working on that system to keep it up, and it's up 99.8% of the time. The only time it really goes down is, every 3 or 4 weeks you get a security update or some kind of patch, they do for 15 or 20 minutes, from 3 o'clock in the morning to 3:30, and you get a little email notice that that's going to happen, and it just happens seamlessly. But for some customers, they still want to do it on premise, and that's an option with Acumatica, as well as, well, I want to have it local, but I want to put it in a local data center. You can do that as well. So there's licensing models for all 3. But again, the SaaS cloud version, where Acumatica takes care of all the hardware backups, updates, security patches, they do all those things for you, is by far the most popular, and the reason so many people want to get to the cloud, and that drives down your internal IT costs. So Acumatica has a very growth-friendly licensing model too. This is hard to believe because we've been working with per user or seat licenses in so many of the options that are out there today. Like in the Dynamics SL that we sold for years, each license costs about $3,000, and so the businesses have to make a decision. When, hey, I need another AP person or another project manager to get access to this information, is it worth $3,000 for them to do that, to get that access? So you're always in this cost-benefit type decision that really limits and hampers growth. I mean, what you want and what Acumatica provides is unlimited licenses with their system. So if you want a receptionist to scan in, checks and invoices from vendors that came in that day, you can do it. If you have a board member that needs one financial report a month, you can do it. It doesn't cost you anything extra. You can get, as I like to say, you get everybody in the pool so they all get maximum benefit of the system. And the way Acumatica prices is on your high transaction volume. For a lot of contractors and construction people and project people, that high volume transaction is going to be accounts payable transactions. So they put you in these broad buckets, and based on the resources you need, the hardware you need, and the transaction volume. And if you go over that, well, then it's just a small upcharge to get to the next big bucket, so you don't have to worry about it for another year or two. Consequently, what we're seeing with COVID is that some of our customers have actually shrunk, and you can actually reduce your transaction volume and reduce your bill. Now, that's something you can't do with the old legacy systems, and really you can't do with most of the other competitors with cloud systems. So wouldn't it be nice, some of my customers have got whacked, their volumes down, their revenues down 50%, and some of them had made layoffs and pay cuts to employees. With Acumatica, you can actually reduce that cost as your business transaction volume lowers, but not cut users. You've still got everybody using the system that needs to get into it. The security, we mentioned that is just top notch. I mean, some of our customers have got the ransomware virus, and with Acumatica and the cloud, and it just doesn't happen. That virus can't jump over the cloud to get to that system. So it makes you really bulletproof, and who knows what's going to happen. Things like two-factor identification is important for some customers now, so that you get a notification on your cell phone and you put in another access code. So you got extra level security to support all these remote users. Acumatica comes with that standard. But they're just, with Acumatica and Amazon, they're just staying on top of all these security updates, so you don't have to worry about it. And that's something that IT folks spend a lot of time on, that they'll now be, if your ERP system's in the cloud, they'll be free to work on other projects and help you with strategic initiatives, and not be worrying about the next virus or the next hack or the next security update. Acumatica's core products, come with financials, CRM, project accounting, inventory, customer management, which is CRM, and payroll is something we're seeing recently, especially in the construction industry. They want to have payroll in-house so they can do that gross to net payroll. They get those really finite labor costs that they can put to the project and know to the penny how much it costs them to do that job. So with the Acumatica payroll and that built-in interface, it's just built in. It's not an interface, it's connected, it's part of the system. You get those true live costs. And then for industry suites, on top of these really powerful systems, I have a couple of construction-related companies that are using the core Acumatica project system, and it does what they want. But if you get into really specific features for construction, distribution, manufacturing, then you can add the construction suite, for example, and it would add things that we'll talk about here in a minute, like subcontractor support, compliance for insurance on your subcontractors, AIA billing, and also dual signature checks or dual pay checks, so that the supplier and the vendor both have to sign on the check, so that you can control that equipment and materials that are being delivered to the job, and make sure everybody gets paid and does what they're supposed to do. And here's some of those key features that when you add Acumatica construction that they add. Retainage is a big one I didn't mention. built-in construction reports, WIP reports, daily progress reports, commitments, change orders, purchase orders, obviously. But those compliance issues is really powerful, so that you do pay when paid, or they don't get a check, or they can't move further in your accounting process until they've complied with the documents you need to do your responsibility for your project. So totally connected, CRM, financials, payroll, optional. I mean, you can do an outsourced payroll as well. Inventory, service management, all those pieces are integrated in one system, so that you don't have any integration or programming issues. It just comes with the system. And the open architecture of Acumatica, I mean, they have the built-in interfaces to the common tools that you might use, like Procore or ProEst, smart sheets for project management, ADP. Still, a lot of people use ADP for payroll. Of course, the built-in integrations to Office is just fantastic. You know, from CRM, I can take an email and I can create an opportunity. I can create a customer. I can create a contact, or I can just track that email against that opportunity or customer or contact that I'm working with. And that I do that right from Outlook. I don't have to go into Acumatica to do it. You know, here's some common construction-based companies that are using Acumatica. Up at the top here are a couple of our Acumatica customers that we're working with. Geotech, for example, is a great construction customer that we work with. One of the things that I think sets Acumatica apart is its phenomenal online training that just comes with the system. You don't pay extra for it. It's not a profit center for Acumatica. You don't pay extra for training, and your end users can take their courses and use it whenever they want. Whenever you have some turnover of an employee, they need a refresher, or if new features come out in the system, they can update and take those courses online themselves. We integrate the online training into our implementation process, so that when we're doing an implementation, we would assign an AP user a couple of courses to take online. Once they pass those, then our consultants would work with them on the specific features that are important to your business, and that reduces our training cost and reduces your implementation costs, and makes you more independent and get more power out of the system. I can't tell you how many of our customers that we've worked with for years, I'll go in and talk to them and they'll say, we don't use 10% of what SL can do. And the part of that reason is that they didn't have good online training to help exploit those features. One of the things you see with Acumatica is that they have a user bill of rights, and I won't read all of these, but I'll kind of highlight a couple of the ones I think are head and shoulders above the other competitors out there. Number one, they publish it. They tell you what your rights are, or our competitors don't do that. A big one is this sustainable pricing. Acumatica guarantees that they will not raise the price of the system more than 3% in any 1 year. And that, sometimes it's 1%, sometimes it's 3%, but it's never more than 3%. I've seen some of the competitors jump their prices 15, 20, 25% in 1 year. So you can forecast your cost of this system. It is the other big thing is that you own your data, and that sounds weird, but when you put it in the cloud with some of these competitor systems, they own your data. A lot of people don't know that QuickBooks Online, which is used by millions of people, they actually track that data and sell it to other people. So the people that are interested in not your specific data, but how many new employees you've added, how many what's your spending volume on vendors and certain types of purchases. So QuickBooks farms that information and resells it. Acumatica doesn't do that. With Acumatica, you own your data. You can get a backup or a complete backup of your SQL database whenever you want. You can actually make a whole snapshot of the system and download it to your workstation to use for training or testing. So you have total control over your data. So I want to kick it over now to Mike Coleman. Mike, you ready to take over the demo?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Good. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Acumatica. As you can see from I'm using a Firefox from the demonstration screen. So anytime that any browser that you are using, if you put your website in, you will have access to your data. As Mike was talking about, remote workers, people who have to work from home, or people who have to work from the road or from a job site, are able to pull the same data that you can see in the office. That allows a little more flexibility and a little more speed. What we're looking at here is a dashboard. Dashboards are able to be customized by user and by functionality of a particular user. This one that we're looking at is for projects. And on my project dashboard, I'm pulling information from the system because it is SQL-based. All of you who have used a database system before, like Access, are going to be kind of familiar with what we're talking about. Let me open one of these up to give you an idea of what we're seeing. So I've gone to a table, and I've told it I want all records and what fields that I want. And then when I go to the information, what I'm seeing is just strictly what I've asked for. So the ability to pull data out of the system is pretty functional for anything that you want to do. Right now, this data can be exported as Excel-based documents, or it can be used to be exposed to OData. Any of you who have used a BI, a business intelligence tool, you can download this generic inquiry and access that information from that BI tool. This is also how the information gets into Procore if you use it there. As you can see, the things that we can bring to the fore are different kinds of charts. We can import and keep websites also. This is a job site, and one of the customers likes weather. For some reason, they want to see what the weather forecast is for a job site. But as I say, these are all as flexible as you want them to be. If you want to keep a list of the change orders, you can also move from there. Mike asked me today to go from an opportunity for a project all the way through the project. So that's what we're going to go for. My impression of most of our customers is that contacts and leads by person are not kept in the CRM or in the until they become a viable project. We do have the ability to keep track of those things. You can have leads, and as they develop into contacts, we can also make them businesses that we expect to do business with. So this is kind of the layout of most of our screens. We have activities, we have attributes, we keep notes on the person or company, and we can also keep files on them. And as you can qualify your leads, you can also disqualify leads, you can convert them, or you can move them into the next phase. So I'm going to start with opportunities. So you have been talking to someone and it is developed into that they're ready for you to quote, or you're ready to quote for them. And what happens is we have a place to keep all of the notes that you have on this particular customer Now, this particular opportunity, the notes stay with the opportunity. They're not presented to the customer in any format. They're always able to be kept separate. Now, we also have files that we can keep track of too. So if there's a notice, an RFI, a invitation to bid, you can keep track of that, a copy of that document here. I'll browse out to my computer, and it's pretty easy to pull the information that I want and keep track of it here. Now, we can't keep track of all kinds of documents, but you can keep track of CAD drawings, PDF, all Office documents, most picture applications. Those allow you to keep all of your information in one place. Now, that being said, if you're in payables, you can also keep track of the bill. Most bills are being sent email nowadays, and you can just copy that to the file of the AP bill that you're going to be paying. So we can keep track of the activities associated with the program. Our activity, we can have email. We can keep track of events they've been invited to. We can also add notes, appointments. The appointments with the integration of Exchange, appointments and email can be added from Exchange or to Exchange. I'm sorry, Outlook. This particular instance, this is my Outlook. Jane is a customer of ours. If I need to, when I get her request, I hit Outlook. I'm going to create her as a company contact for we're going here, and then I can create that and keep track of her with this company and what activity she wants. If there's an opportunity that's in here, or if there's a case that I need to contact her and correct something. This one is a case that I need to contact her and create. And we can log the activities as we move forward. Let me turn that off so we don't get bothered by people. So that's how it integrates with the Microsoft products. This indicator here is also how we can download things. We can download things to Excel, or we can upload documents to them too. These are kind of the document details. As you move forward through the process, you're going to figure out what inventory items they're asking for. If there are inventory items that you're going to need, what kind of estimates you can get for an amount, and how that's going to work through your sales funnel. This is the details behind how we got the contact and where the contact is in this stage. So this source was a campaign. It was a year-end campaign, and they responded to it. Now, we can also keep track of our campaigns and who's in those campaigns and who responded to those campaigns and how successful that campaign was to that marketing. Now, we can have dynamic lists that update every time we're getting ready to run a campaign or to use the campaign list. One of the things that one of our customers does is they send out an email they send out a newsletter every quarter. So their list is updated dynamically to every single person that is associated with the company that they want to contact. We also have a list of the contact information for the company. One of the things that is happening in Europe right now is the personal data privacy. It's coming, and we're going to be required to take everyone's personal data and say what we're going to do with it. And they're going to have the right to deny or accept us using their data for marketing or for business intelligence. And this is something that we see a lot happening with our European customers. The ship to information allows you to keep track of where you think this project is going to be shipping to, or if there's going to be a tax issue. Attributes are items that we can add to any project or a business account or a customer or to an item and really keep track of what kind of information that we're looking for. This information goes back into the database. For us, we keep track of our customers, what software they're using, what project management information that they have, what versions that they're on, how big they are. And you can keep track of these kinds of things, whether it's going to be, whether the opportunity is coming for a consultant or for an upgrade or for a new build. You can keep track of that kind of information. That being said, we're also going to keep track of where that information comes from. We're going to look at who is being, has any impact on the opportunity, and whether they're a decision maker, whether they're our people, whether they're the company's employees, or whether there's an outside consultant that's bringing information to the party. In this particular opportunity, we're also keeping track of taxes, whether or not there will be employee taxes or sales taxes in the area, any discounts that have been discussed, and then we're going to keep track of the orders and the invoices that have been generated. So that keeps everything in one place as the opportunity is being built. It gives you that information, and it also keeps track of who talked to who last. The only way we do that is by filling out the document the details here, and we can keep track of the notes individually. One of the things that we find with companies that have not used the CRM is that we have to help them with the rules. There are rules because we have to know, in our business, the last person to talk to someone puts their notes on the top line. They insert them so that we know what the last contact was and what was said. So let's see here. We can we can create contacts, and we can also create a quote. So let's see. I'm going to add the contact for this project is going to be Chris, and we're going to create a quote. Now, in our business, we have a list of tasks that are associated with a project. When this project creates a quote, I'm going to pull one of the templates that we use because these are the standard tasks associated with a project. And there are only 2 tasks associated with this project. I better pick another one. Time and materials. Okay. So it lists all of the standard tasks that are associated with with this project. We don't have to use them all, but we can use them to estimate what the costs are going to be, what timing they're looking at, how can we get that into our system to look at what availability we are going to have on the dates that they're talking about, the kind of billing information that's going to be needed, and then we can add the same activities that you saw before, and we can also add notes and files up here as we move forward. So this would produce, I'm going to give them 30 days to respond, just because that's how I am. But we can add an activity, I need to save it so that it has a project number. I'm going to add an activity to this project. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to add a note. Emailed quote to Chris. I'm going to do it this way because I want to see how it shows up on the screen, but I could have easily added an email and submitted a copy of the quote to him from there. So right now, let's see what this is. I'm sorry, this is going to be my standard quote, but all of these fields are accessible. We can change these and customize this report to go out as you see fit. Okay, so project estimate. Oh,
Mike, can I make one point here?
yes, sir.
Yeah, on the holy grail that I see most businesses trying to get to is a forecast and backlog report. And to do that effectively, you really need your quotes with the weighted averages or weighted chances of closing. So if we think 30% of quotes that are in the proposal phase are going to close in the next 30 days, what does that backlog do with my existing work and the work I already have won that I'm doing? And do I need to hire people? Do I need to bring in more subcontractors to get the work done? So having the CRM system in with the project costing system lets you give that that accurate forecast and plan your workflow better. Thanks, Mike.
All right. And then we can add things like, in this one, we're going to add a project task, deposits, inventory items, expected price is going to be 5,000. Cost is going to be so. Thank you. Okay, extended price will be 5,000. Save, and then the unit. It gives you an estimate of what you expect things to be, and at the top to allow you to do what Mike's talking about, building your funnel. I'm going to take this to revenue, sorry. These are all setups that we're going to be using and how things are going to happen.
The nice thing about that, hey Mike, let me make one point on those codes. Is you notice those weren't GL account codes. Those are codes that a project manager would be familiar with. And those codes, burden, account, the sub-accounts are set up for those when the job's set up so that the project manager doesn't have to, or the salesperson that's estimating, doesn't have to know the specific chart of account, sub-account numbers. They just work with, these broad-based terms that they need to handle on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. So once that's done, we can keep track of the activities. See this activity here. So we're going to say that we're submitting the quote and that it's been won. We're going to convert this to a project. This activity here is going to track through the project. So that allows us to keep track of the information that we talked about to the project manager or to the person that we're submitting a quote to. And then we've created the project. Let's see here. This particular project also has how we're going to bill it, what currency we're going to be using, and what the standard billing rules and rate tables are. We also have allocations set up for this particular project, and we also have the same information. Well, okay. The same information came across with the task, didn't it? Usually it comes across. I must have not set it up correctly to come across at this time. Yep, I did not. But each task has their own information so that you can keep track of the activities associated with the tasks and what type of information that you've gathered from that particular customer. We also have revenue budgets, and we show revenue budgets and can do change orders as identified by the customer and the client and the project manager. We can also see what invoices have been created for this particular project. And this means that we don't have to allow the detail of that access to project managers. They can stay within projects and see what invoices have been created. We're looking at cost budgets here, and then we also have a little P&L that's associated with the project. The amount budgeted, actuals, and open commitments. I don't know if you use commitments or not, but if purchase orders have been issued, then you need to know those commitments are out there for this particular project. And then we have a list of the invoices that release retainage or have retainage associated with them, or that are just that the retainage is gone and we're sending out real money invoices to now. Now we also have the ability to do a pro forma invoice, and that means that it gives everyone an opportunity to look at it and bless it before we move it forward into accounts payable.
And we can send
keep
that
track of the
invoice.
change.
Mike, we can send that pro forma invoice to the customer for approval, and then if they squawk over, percentage complete or whatever, we can adjust it and finalize it. The billing formats are unique to the project, so if a customer needs a unique format, we can handle that. As are the allocations and billing rules and rate tables. Those are all project specific, so they can each project can have its own rules and formats. Thanks, Mike.
We can keep track of the change orders or change requests that have been made. We can also keep track of the unions that are associated with this particular project. Not all, but some customers like to use limit the number of employees that are able to work on a specific project because of the level of complexity or the skills needed. You can also keep track of the equipment that's associated with the project, and the approval settings, compliance, attributes like we talked about before, and compliance. So these are all of the tables that are available for this particular project. These are all in the database. And that generic inquiry that I showed you before, they're all pullable. We can pull based on any of these particular fields that are part of a project. So if there's something specific you want to see, we're able to create that within the generic inquiry platform. So one of the things that we have found that is most useful is that people don't want to see a lot of stuff on these screens. Mike was talking about how non-programmable changes are. In this particular event, if there are fields that we don't like the order of, I want to see actual quantity besides budgeted quantity. I have the ability to move those around. Now, they're specific to each user. So if that is important to you, then that's what you want to see. I'm not worried about quantities. I want to see amounts. I'm going to move amounts over, and I don't want them there. I want them here. So you have those abilities to move those things around and to give you the exact look that you want. Now, say that there are fields here that don't interest you, or there are fields that do interest you. See, this information can be added to the screen. Or they can be taken away. So you can customize the screen any way that works for the person that's going to be using them. Part of the interesting things that we do with Acumatica and the integration into Microsoft Office, as I said, we can export to Excel from here so that you have the revenue budget in Excel and are able to manipulate it as you want, or you can upload. So if I'm going to upload a document, tell it what I want to upload. Now my document doesn't have to look like this. I'm going to get a list of the column names in my document, and I can add them to wherever I see fit within my spreadsheet or my tab, and this would upload into here. That would give you that kind of information at all times. It gives you that kind of flexibility. So once it comes down to it, one of the things that we do, we have one customer who's got over 2,500 projects that are live. So with all the work that's done, accounting has some rules out there that these projects have to be done by this date. All expenses, all percent complete, all units of billing have to be in the projects. And they run project billing, and that creates the invoices and puts them into the pro forma invoices. Then they tell the project managers, you have 10 days, and then we're going to invoice. They run allocations and billing on that date, and they're able to close their month. On this screen, we're looking at the construction layout. It looks a lot like project. But we have the ability to allow people to see things and not allow people to see things. Almost nobody sees preferences. This is the system setup and how things are ran. The rules, what account groups are used, what are the billing rules, and how we do change orders. These are the reports that most people see that give you a chance to take a look at what's going on, and a lot of project managers get to see this kind of information. And these are the forms that we can change to quotes, pro forma invoices, and regular invoices. We can take a document such as the subcontractor's agreement, and it allows us to open file. It's taking a little longer to load than I thought. And it looks very similar to Crystal, but it's not. It does give us the flexibility to make the changes that you want to make and customize documents how you see fit. Let's see. And that includes invoices, of course.
Yeah, Mike can make a comment there. We can put all the legal language, disclaimers, and things like that that you have on your purchase orders and invoices right into the document. Thanks.
As you can see, the reports is a pretty good list, and we are expecting to make that list grow as we move forward. Acumatica is creating reports, and Mike, do you want to comment on how reports and inquiries are available if we create them for others?
Yes, one of the things, and the partner community is pretty open. There is a customer portal where customers can share reports, but at Acumatica, we have a report library, and for any of our customers that are on a plan with us, they get access to any reports we've created for anybody else that they can either tweak themselves to fit for their business, or we can help them tweak those and get those implemented. So that lets we kind of got a brain trust going there on reports and dashboards.
Okay. Let's see, time and expense. We do expense claims and approvals through the system. I'm going to take a minute here and pull mine up. So in Acumatica, we have a remote or a phone-driven app. I'll try to pulling that up now. We can take a look at it, which allows people to put in time. Like Michael was talking about before, they're able to see dashboards. They're able to see the applications that are necessary for them. See if I can get it to come up here. It's taking a little bit of time.
You know, Mike's got a little phone app that you know, emulates a cell phone, so you guys can see it on the screen. But the you know, the phone app allows a person in the field to snap a picture of their expense receipt when they took a client to lunch and save that right against that expense and get it done right after they meet with the client.
So this is the application. So you can do your expense receipts, expense claims. If you need to do approvals, they're here. If you're looking at opportunities, I don't know if I have any tabs.
Yeah, if your phone is up, we can't see it.
Let's see here.
There you go.
Okay. You can also do purchase orders. This project quotes, we decided we wanted to see project quotes on the dashboard, so we can see those here. You can do your time here. If you take a picture of your receipt, it transfers to the system automatically with your expense receipts and claims. But this is, if you have any tasks or opportunities that are out there that you need to do, work on, you can do it from your phone. One of the things that you'll see is that this screen is optimized already. I hate to say it this way, but we've all seen screens that when you change, you can't see. So, but this one is already set up to optimize to the screen size. And
yeah, they're not just jamming the the full Acumatica screen into a small view on the phone or a landscape view. And this phone app comes with Acumatica. You don't pay anything extra for it. And it doesn't matter whether you have 10 employees or 1,000 employees, they all get a license to it.
Yeah. So you're seeing this kind of information here, the details that are associated with the time card or the expense report, and you can easily do these in the airport. So that's always nice. Let me see, I'll close that. And change my view. As Mike talked about, we're here to talk about construction for the most part. So now we're going to go into the construction management or project management tasks or customizations that are available. Requests for information can be sent, daily field logs if there are drawings associated with a project or photos. You can submit you can submit what needs to be committed. You can do lien waivers, compliance management, certificates that are needed to be shared or be told to. It's here. Daily field logs can be submitted, and those field logs can create issues. As we talked about before, the dashboards. Now, if field issues are created, they need to be on a dashboard, or a notification needs to go out to someone to say that there's been an issue. And when those are created, I think I'm going to go here to the dashboard, see if I can pull them up. we could easily create a dashboard that does that. In Acumatica, we have a lot of dashboards that we have already in place. So if you're this would be the project director. This could easily be a dashboard based on a specific project. And you can pull the projects from here if that's important to you. I think I added. Did I add?
Yeah, Mike. I think the important point there that the dashboard is specific to the user. So, an AP person would see a different one than a project manager or an owner or a salesperson. They all get a dashboard that is specific to their tasks. And one of the other points with compliance is that Acumatica comes with a universal workflow engine that, again, is user set up. It's not a programming tool. It's the kind of thing that your average power user could do, so that you can take a document through a set of compliance steps. So it gets emailed out to a subcontractor, and then once that subcontractor returns the document, it flows to accounts payable that can release them for payment. Once they get their insurance docs back or their W-9 or whatever they need to do, you can set up workflows for all those. And they also can show up on a dashboard so that you can see how many subcontractors you're waiting on compliance reports, and you don't have to run a report to find out who's late on a compliance report. It's just right there on the dashboard. Thanks, Mike.
We do have customers that are using multi-currency. These dashboards are set up specifically for CRM. Let's see here. How many wins and losses, normal deal size. So these are all customizable, like Mike was saying. I would say by role as opposed to person, but each person's dashboard could be customized within the role. One of the things that comes with Acumatica CRM are cases. We use cases, like I said before, to report and to notify us of things that we need to do for you. We keep track of those cases and what their priority is and what happened the last time we talked to that customer. So this does do union payroll and ACA reporting. It does keep track of PTO and overtime rules. Right now with the projects, you can also see project locations, and project locations also dictate what employee payroll taxes need to be withheld or used. Payroll work locations, we can identify what payroll taxes have to be paid.
For construction and project-driven customers, I mean, the employee might be in 3 different taxable locations in one day, so that location finder really helps improve the reporting there. Nobody has any questions. I want to thank you for attending. The next step for us would be to get a better understanding of your specific needs, what your challenges are, and then we go through a little discovery process that helps us identify the key requirements and then put together a demonstration of specific business tasks that you need to do your job. So my contact information is up on the screen, but my phone number is 614-568-2119. And you've all received emails from me. I encourage you to email me with any questions.